Welcome to another episode of Reseller Evolution. I'm Scott.
And I'm Carl.
And this is podcast number 12.
Part
and
2.
What are we going to talk about today, Carl?
Well, we're going to do part 2, garage sales. I am so bad at this that I need 2 episodes to kind of teach me how to do this. I'm hoping that other people will get a few pointers too, but it's not a natural skill of mine.
Well, I think it would easily, quickly become a skill if you just were exposed to more yard sales. Like, this sounds to me like you're in a tough thing. But before we start going there, how was your
Right.
week, Carl?
Oh man, this week sucked. There's no, I won't go into the details. Let's just say it's like, oh my god, every time I thought, crap, something horrible's happened, something else comes along. Nothing I can't get over. Nothing, health wise or anything like that. Just like, it's like, oh look, the thing broke. Oh look, here's a huge expensive bill.
Yeah.
Oh look, this work wasn't done properly, and now I have to complain about it. It's like, oh, all this stuff I hate. Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. But yeah, apart from that, like, sales were okay. They dropped off a little bit, but honestly, I think it's because I haven't been listening as much, just like the last week. Because I really find when you put good stuff, it usually goes within the first week. And I got it like in I think it was Thursday of last week. I got told they were going to redo the basement windows. Like, we had arranged it, but the actual date of them coming in, and I have so much inventory. Where I do my listing, my computer, everything was in front of these windows. So, and I have things that are breakable. So I had to spend a long time moving everything. And so I haven't been listing. So I'm hoping this week things will calm down and I can get back into listing. How was your week?
My week was good. I didn't really source a whole lot. I mean, there's some big opportunities coming up in the next week or two.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that. It's just kind of quiet for sourcing. Had a really good Saturday at the booth, and then Sunday kind of just felt a little bit quiet. It was more of an average Sunday, so I can't really complain about it.
Yeah.
And on eBay, I mean, I'm my own worst enemy. I've been so busy with everything. I haven't really been listing a whole lot. I created a bunch of drafts getting ready to list, and all of a sudden I had a $660 day yesterday.
Oh, good. Yeah.
It's just crazy. Like, I mean, last week I had couple of really good days, and those big sales are coming through. So it's funny how things trend. You'll have a bunch of little sales, and it's like, wow, I'm glad I had that little stuff because the big stuff isn't selling, and it really made a good day or a good week. And then all of a sudden you'll have another week where 4 or 5 big things sell for $200 plus.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, I'm really glad I have those big things because you know what I mean? So there's always a trend. It never seems to be kind of like even. It's either a couple of big things are selling or a lot of little things. It's never like one big thing and 3 or 4 little things. It seems, I mean, that's how it seems to me. Is it always seems to be one or the other, like almost extreme.
Yeah, like for me, there's been a lot of big sales because I've been listing a lot of expensive things. But yeah, no, I think like I probably like this is part-time. Well, not part-time. This is just I do it for fun in retirement. And as long as I get my $500 to $1,000 check every week, I'm pretty happy, and I'm not going to go nuts anything over that. And usually I find it does average around that right now. So if I can keep that up, we'll go. I'm not going to be like, I need to grow the numbers bigger and bigger and bigger. I was like, no, I still want to enjoy this. I did actually source one thing I like selling, a huge lot. I think it's about 100 of them of magazines. And I had to go through those. I think there's, a few of them worth, like, in US terms, like $15 or $20, just a few of them, and the rest all lot up. And it's fun, yeah. And I'm going to actually list them because I don't want them spending too much time on my floor in here.
And when I have a week and I say I didn't source, I have lots of stuff to go through, so it's kind of nice little relief. But after saying that out loud, I feel like sometimes this can be like therapy. It festers in your head. After I said it out loud, I think I'm kind of wrong on those. I think what happens is when you don't sell the big items, you're kind of, the little ones stand out more. But when I really think about it, I still had some small items sell too. So maybe the big ones kind of overshadow the little ones,
I
and when
think
you don't
so.
have the big sales, the little ones become more visible. You know what I mean? So
It's funny because sometimes I don't like a good
after I said it
example.
out loud, I'm like, maybe I'm wrong there.
Yeah, because yeah, I was just gonna say because like for me, it makes like I sold some Hello Kitty cards. I think I sell those for a whole $10 plus
Yeah,
shipping. You know, I make good actually pretty good money on those two cards because I paid so little for them. But then I'll have a camera go out for $100 in the same shipment, right? So
I
for me,
just
it's quite mixed.
I remember about two or three, probably closer to 3 weeks ago now. I'm looking at my dollar cost average on eBay there, and it's around 67, and now it's like 92. So I had some big sales that really pushed that up, right? So those really stood out to me. I think that's
92? Sorry, I don't understand. Like,
uh so it says cost per average cost per item sold,
oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay.
right? So I was around 60 something because I used to like I used to hover around that 100 point, the $100 mark, and a little above, a little below, and then all of a sudden it dropped. And around Christmas, I think
Oh,
I had a lot
right.
of
Okay.
small sales, like 30, 40, $50 sales, right? A lot of things were under 100. So it
Yeah.
kind of dropped to about the 60 point, 60, I think it was 67. But now I looked at it last night and I'm around 92.
Yours is much higher than mine. I'm not sure what it is without checking, but I think mine's more like 45 or 50.
Yeah. But
Maybe
I
60.
mean,
I can't quite remember. But
it's kind of misleading because I put that smaller stuff in the booth, right? So
yeah. Yep.
so it's still not that I'm not selling that stuff. I just have a different way of selling it. But the point that I was trying to make is that just shows like a couple big items sell and it
Yeah.
pushes that dollar cost average right up. So
I believe it. Like for me, those Hello Kitty cards, I don't mind selling because it takes me 2 seconds. Poly mailer, I already have all the cards like already ready to go and just grab three, put them in a packet, and I can pack and ship that thing under like 5 minutes at the most.
nice. Yeah.
Right.
And
So
it's taken me a lot longer. It's taken me a good 15 minutes sometimes just to find the right box. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like
you know
the
what I
big
mean?
things can take me like 20 minutes to ship.
Yeah.
So it's like I can it's funny. I look at a lot of my business that way. It's like how much time, what's my return on my time? I don't get obsessive with it, but I do think about it. And that's why we'll buy those cards and sell them for like $10 American plus shipping because it's like, okay, I made, let's just say $7, maybe $10 Canadian, but it took me 10 minutes of work. It's a repeatable item. Like with one listing with multiple quantities, I can just increase for pretty well forever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, in some ways I'm making more off those Hello Kitty cards than I am making off that $100 or $200 camera in a strange way because I don't have to test them. I don't have, it's not like one list and it's done. It's like one listing, multiple sales. So yeah, it's just a different, that's why I don't mind that stuff as well.
And one thing I've started doing this week, well, probably the last couple of weeks with the bigger items, is using FedEx. Now,
Mm,
eBay has a little setup here. I don't know if it's in the States too, but definitely here in Canada, because our Canada Post shipping is so expensive. Um, and it's a game changer. It totally is. There was something I priced. I think it was a dulcimer. It would have been the dulcimer, and it was going to cost me $90 to ship Canada Post. It's
mm,
an instrument.
yeah.
It's smaller than a guitar, but it's a type of stringed instrument, and it's kind of long. Probably closer to the length of a golf club, you know. But anyway, it was going to cost me $90 to ship that thing, and I went on FedEx, and it cost me 44.
Oh,
So
wow.
like half
Within
the price.
Canada or to the United States?
Went to the US.
Right. Because the reason I'm asking is like with Chit Chats,
Yeah.
I send those electric guitars, like the video game ones, and they're about the
Yeah.
same size of that for 25 bucks Canadian. That's
We
how
don't
don't
have
have
that
them.
option.
No.
We're out in the rural area here, so I'm
Yeah.
lucky to have a FedEx.
Yeah,
you know.
no, hey, and like we were talking before the show, and I said shipping is one of my business expense, my
Yeah.
biggest expenses
Yeah.
beyond eBay fees, beyond cost of goods, all of that. It's
And,
shipping. It's so
and to
expensive.
compete to the US people, I have to my shipping has to represent that. So I always do a
Yeah.
flat rate.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times I make a buck or two off it, especially if it's smaller. I'll
Yeah.
charge $10 and I can get away with a $7 to $9. So I'm making a couple of bucks there. But there's a lot of times like this dulcimer, if I was to ship that through Canada Post, I can only really charge $25 or $30. I think I'd charge $25 or $30, one or the other. Because people are just, if I charge more for the shipping, they're not going to buy it, right?
No.
No,
They're gonna
because
get
I'm
upset.
competing against the US, who's probably charging 15 to
Exactly.
$20 for it. So
Yeah.
now I know the Canadian currency, we're talking about different. So $25 is probably closer to $18 American or something like that. Um, but I still have to be in that range. So FedEx has totally changed the game. I can start
Oh, good.
shipping a little bit bigger items now,
Yeah.
and so I'm really happy I've started doing that. So
It's funny, those big items, if they reach the thresholds, they can suddenly jump. So I often get a little nervous about them. Like the guitars I know well because I sell those. But for example, I have a VHS DVD player going out. Who knows? That could be 25, it could be 50. It depends on if it reaches certain weight and size thresholds.
yeah,
But hey, that's shipping. What are you going to do?
yeah.
And what are we talking about this week?
Well, this week we're talking about yard sales. I think. Yeah.
Part two, yeah.
Part
So
two. Part two. Part
should we
two.
get into that before we put everyone to sleep with our shipping stories?
Yeah, really. Eh? 'Cause this is a shipping video now. Yeah. No, I think that's just kind of how I can sum up the week, is that I've learned a couple of things, or a couple game changers. But you're right. We need to move on to today's topic, and it is a part two. I mean, outside of some experiences and stuff, do you have anything else to talk about the yard sales?
Well, I just wanted to kind of talk about it a bit more about different scenarios and how we approach them, as much to teach myself as anything else. Because, one thing we talked about briefly last week was negotiation and how do you deal with certain things. So I thought we could talk about some scenarios and how do you deal with it. So we'll start with an easy one, a softball. So you go up to the garage sale and they have a whole bunch of printouts and it's all these eBay asking price printouts. Do you stick around or do
Well,
you?
what I do is I rip them up, I scream and yell, I crumple them up, throw them at the people, and say, "Are you an idiot? This is stupid." No, I
Yeah,
don't.
that's the way you should
I,
do it.
you know what?
Yeah,
If there's something of real interest, I'm like, what does this mean? You know what I mean? I'll kind of like act confused. I know
yeah,
exactly what it means, but I'm kind of like saying you're an idiot. But like, what does this mean? What's this printout thing here? I don't even go on eBay. Why am I being advertised? Like, why am I dealing with eBay stuff here? I'll try to break it a little bit this way. Like, I have different tactics, and I kind of said this last time, that it
yeah.
all depends on the personality. Like, if somebody says, "Oh, that belonged to my dad," and I've said, "Well, I can't compete
Sentimental,
with." Well, if it's sentimental to you, I can't compete with that. Like, "Oh, no, no, it's not sentimental. No, no, no." Like, you know what I mean? So I'll
Right.
kind of throw that in there. It's a subtle little dig. You know what I mean? And it kind of puts them on the defensive. I'll say, "What's this eBay thing here? Like, what does that even mean?" Right? Like,
Well, honestly, I think I've only ever seen that once. Like
I
when I go to
haven't
garage
seen it.
sales.
Yeah, I haven't seen it where it's a lot of items, but I have seen it before, and kind of frequently, where it's maybe they have one or two items and they'll show the printout and they'll have it taped to the table to
Okay,
show that,
sure,
right?
that might happen. Usually, in those cases, it's usually objects I'm not being interested in, anyways, and so I haven't had to go into it. Like if it was really something I wanted, how would I deal with that? That's a good. What happens if it was something you wanted? Something like, say there was an item, and I'm going to give you the scenario. Say it was worth $100, and they printed out showing something that's worth $100, and you want this item, but you're not willing to pay $100, obviously.
Well,
Would
I
you
can't
bother?
really think of an item that I want that badly. Like, there'll be things that I really would like, right?
Okay, you
But
would really
there's
like this item then. How about that scenario? You would like to buy it,
like, I
but
know
you
it would
obviously
sell
you're
and
not
I
going to
could
be
do
that
well
person.
with it. First
Yeah,
of all, it's probably going to be worth more than $100. Um, like, it might be worth $600 or something like that. You know what I
okay.
mean?
Say
Like,
it's worth $600, and
okay,
you really want
so
the project.
so I would say exactly that. I would like, what's this eBay thing? What does this mean, right?
Right.
First of all, 90% of the time they're going to have the asking price. So now I have to
Yeah.
educate them on how eBay works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you say I don't know about this eBay thing at all, but if I bring up my app here, I can actually show you solds.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like,
know.
so that'll be something that I'll kind of like, now I have to educate them.
Mm,
And all the time being polite, but some of the times I might say it in such a way that like they get defensive on it. You know what I mean? It's kind of a psychological thing too, right? So it's just a game, Carl. This whole thing is like playing poker. In my mind, it's
oh man,
completely playing poker. And, and I kind of touched about this last week. Before I answer your question here, I'm going to go on a little tangent. But
sure.
it's it's really it's like you're playing poker every year for 5 to 10 years, depending on how long you've been doing this,
Yeah.
and you play poker every Saturday, right? And then you got these other people that are just learning the game. You know what
Oh
I mean?
man. Yeah.
So you have to
So you're
read.
calling them fish, is what you're saying here.
So what you're saying is, what I'm saying is, and some people will laugh and understand it, and other people go, "What an asshole!" You know what I mean? But basically, what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that you have the advantage. Use it to your advantage. You know what I mean? You've got the mentality and the experience, and you've run this scenario 1,000 times.
Right.
So now use what works. If you haven't, if you run into a new scenario, play around with it for a little bit. If you got a little bit of time, play around with it. Like, try to joke around and see what can I do to try to turn the tide here. You know what I mean?
And you know what's interesting with your poker example?
Yeah.
Because I used to play poker too,
Okay.
but I always played the cards. I always played the math.
Okay.
But I know from talking to you before, you played the person, right?
I do play. I play a little bit of the odds for sure, but
Yeah, you don't ignore the odds.
I do play the person too,
You play the
and the
person
scenario, and the scenario. Yeah.
and the scenario. And when
Yeah.
we're talking about negotiation, all that stuff, you're talking about playing. You're playing the person as much, kind of like in poker, and that has never been my skill. Is playing the person. I've always been to play the cards, right? And so that's why I find this kind of negotiation fascinating because I'm not good at it. And it's not a natural skill for me. And just like poker, I prefer playing numbers because when numbers are all black and white, it's easy. But when I'm playing the person, I, I just I don't pick up on those little hints and stuff like that.
Well, I
So
think the first thing you have to do in this little situation is put the
right.
person on tilt.
Right. Right. Okay,
Right?
that's great.
Get the
Yeah.
person on tilt. Just kind of
Oh man.
say a couple of things that might put the person on tilt. Like,
See, I feel bad. I don't want to hurt people's feelings.
no,
I don't
no,
want to tell
no,
them
they're
that they're
this isn't. I don't know. It's not like I don't know. I
yeah.
don't want to, but it's not like going to another country where they're the culture's different. It's the Canadian culture, so you just play within the culture.
See,
Does that make sense?
so for people listening, this is from someone who's good at this and can understand it. And I'm someone who doesn't understand it and isn't good in this. And that's why I find, this is gold for me because it's like, okay, because I want a rule book, right? I want a rule book of how to negotiate, how to get the best price, but there is no rule book when it comes to this. A lot
Like,
of it's soft skills, like if you go up to that person, like with the eBay sheet, like I said, right? And what did you say? It's worth $600 or something, right?
right?
And you want to pay, let's just say you want to pay 200 for it. I'm just
Okay,
giving you the numbers, right?
you're right. Right? Yeah.
Do you walk away? Because I'm always going to walk away from that, especially when that extreme. Like if they want 600, they're showing a sheet that says 600. How am I going to convince them to take 200? I'm not even going to bother with that
Like,
scenario.
well, first of all, there's going to be people that you're just like it's not going to work every time, right? Like,
No,
like the chances are it possibly is not going to work. You know what I mean? It's not like a success rate or anything, but
no,
you're giving yourself a
a
chance to buy it,
chance.
right?
That's what I'm curious about. And let's be honest, I don't think it's going to be too often that you're going to come across $600 items with eBay sheets. Like now, I've only had once when I came across that sort of thing, so maybe I'm naive.
Yeah.
But usually it's more like, this sells for 80 to 100, right? That kind of scenario.
Yeah, so I think the first thing is you just kind of read the person. You might ask a few questions. Oh, this is
Okay, here we go.
yeah,
Is it
like
good stuff?
no, but like this is interesting. Like it all depends on what it is. If you well,
I
it could
think
be
much
folk
more.
art. It could be you give me a scenario, something. The thing when I said 600
VHS
bucks,
DVD player.
a DVD player.
Yeah, they have solds or active. They never have solds. They just asking prices. So they have $100 on this combo player.
Yeah, but see, a DVD player is not worth my time. It really isn't. If they want that much, I'm not going to negotiate down because I'll go buy a DVD player for $10, $15 somewhere else. But
Right.
if I'm talking like a porcelain sign or a Pepsi sign from 1930s, something like
Okay.
that, that's based on condition, could be $600, could be $2,000. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's the kind of thing that I'm going to take time to negotiate with. You know what I mean? Like honestly, a DVD player, they're a dime a dozen in my mind, and I'm not
Okay.
fixated on it enough. Like I know what you're saying. You're saying you're going after that rare, expensive one, but I don't know if it works. I got to test it. There's a lot of scenarios involved. If I don't get it for $10, I don't even care.
Okay. So for the one, I'm just thinking. I know what scenario is going to happen. Is they're going to show you a rusted out
Right.
gunshot through the sign, and they're going to print a pristine, like top of the line one
Well, yeah, and
for their
it,
eBay listing. That's going to happen. Not to get stuck on this one scenario,
yep, yep.
uh, but I think I'm just curious. Like, do you even bother? I'm getting the impression that you don't bother with those because you're just going to be so far apart that you're wasting your time. Is that
Well,
is that
there,
fair?
there's, I mean, so many scenarios are going through my head. So
Right.
let's say it's a sign. Let's say it's relatively equivalent. Because if it's got issues, I'm going to point them out. Most people that have signs are going to know roughly with the market of the sign, right? But they're not going to have the ability to sell that sign without some sort of commission coming off. So if they take it to auction, they're going to lose 30% to the auction house. If they take it to a market, they have to open up a market. There is the option of maybe Facebook Marketplace, but they don't. If they felt comfortable putting it on there, they
Yeah.
would have already had it on there. You know what I mean?
So do you think they care when they print that eBay listing? Say this sells for whatever.
I think they're trying to show you what it's worth, like the
And do you
value
think
of
they're
it.
willing to come off that worth a lot?
I think anybody is,
Okay.
especially if I think I'm not saying everybody, but I think
No, no, no.
I'm not saying that I'll get my price from everybody, but I think everybody is willing to come off that price. You know what I mean? So if it's a $600 sign, like I'll pay three. I might even pay on a if I'm having a good day, I might pay $400 on it.
Yeah.
You know, to make that easy, couple $100 because I could probably sell it to someone without even having to take it to the market if I wanted to, right? Because it's those things I can sell pretty quickly and easily. They're very collectible. Um, so it's hard to just kind of give a scenario situation when everything about every scenario is going to be a little bit different. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're just trying to do role play a little bit,
So
maybe.
I think to sum everything up without really categorizing it into any one item, I think what I my strategy would be really to kind of I'm not going to go in with the attitude, and I think this is wrong. And maybe people have success. I'd love to hear if they find it successful. But I think if you tear the thing apart, they just want nothing to do with you because you're telling them their stuff is junk. You don't overemphasize it. You might pick out some of the issues with it. So if it did have a bullet hole, like ooh, a bullet hole really stands out. You know what I mean, or something like that, or some
Right.
rust around it.
You don't
But
want to insult. You don't want to insult them, but you also want to bring
right,
condition issues
yeah.
uh, as a scenario, as part of the reason for your initial price, right?
Yeah.
Like if they're
So
asking 600, right, and you're willing to pay the 400, like you said, we're like let's pretend I have the sign. I want $600 for it, and you come up Well, how do you start? How do you start this? How do you start this with
I
me?
just say, "Look," and I point behind you, and when you turn around, I grab the
Yeah,
sign
you
and run.
steal the sign. Yeah, yeah, there we go. Oh, Scotty,
No.
Scotty, come on, play a little, play a little.
Fire! What? No, okay, so say that again. So you have the sign. How
I'm sitting there. I got the sign. I have
yeah,
$6 on it. I have an eBay listing showing $600.
but
It has
see,
rust on it and it has bullet holes in it.
right.
But you still want to buy it. So
So,
what do you
so,
do?
so first of all,
Yeah,
I'm not in that situation. I'm not feeling the vibe. I'm not feeling the situation because this is all going to be different. Is the wife there? Does the guy have
he's
a
not
lot
there.
of these
No,
signs? Like there's a lot of scenarios. Is this something he's got behind the door in his shed, or is this something
no,
he's,
leaned up against the box.
or is he displaying it like a prized possession? You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of scenarios that go into
I'm
this.
sitting there in my lawn chair with a beer at my side,
Yeah.
just staring at you as you come up. I got a bunch of junk, and I have this sign with
Well,
a
I'd sit
bullet
down
hole
beside
and
him,
rust.
beside you, and I'd say, "Hey, you got another beer? It's been a long day, buddy."
Well, he's not biting, is he? He's just resisting me like you wouldn't believe. Okay,
No,
fine,
no, no.
fine,
You got to
fine.
chat it up. Just say, "Oh, that looks refreshing." I'm not going to just talk about the sign. I'm going to like
Okay,
butter him
okay,
up a little bit.
okay. I'll give you a
Man, that's
chance.
are you
Okay.
kidding? Blue? That's my favorite beer. A blue? That's my dad drink that, and I drink that. My brother drinks that. I said people say it tastes like shit, but I think it
Hey,
tastes great.
hey, anything cold on a day like this is great. What a
But
lovely weather we're having.
so then
Anyway,
I'll look around and
right.
if he's sitting there with the garage door open, I'm going to see if he's got other signs in the garage. Is he a collector? Is he got a neat garage? Is he got a dirty garage? There's all sorts of things I'm thinking about going through my head. And the last thing I'm going to tell him is about the sign. I'm going to kind of ignore it a little bit, and I'm
Okay.
going to look around at the other stuff.
Okay.
And then eventually, if I buy something, I'm probably going to pay the asking price on it, unless it's like ridiculous. And just say out of curiosity, what do you got for your sign there? You know what I
Six
mean?
hundred bucks.
$600. I said, oh, I said that's pretty neat. Is it original or reproduction? Or
I don't know.
yeah.
I got this from my dad. He had it up on his garage forever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then I'll take a look at it, and I said, do you know what these go for?
Yeah, I
I'll
printed
just
I have the eBay listed printed right here.
but it's completely non-essential conversation to me. It's just to get him talking. It's to
Okay.
sense what he's doing, what he's thinking. You know what I mean?
So
Is
what
he
I'm trying to
get?
get
Is
out of
he?
you is where do you start your negotiation at?
I've started as soon as I walked up the driveway.
Okay.
It can be in the form of silence, dude. It's just I'm gearing everything up. This is all part of the negotiation. How much
Okay.
did he
Okay.
ask me for this? This I don't know. I don't know. I'm just looking around here, but a radio, or does he got a video game and he's got $10 on it, and it's worth 50? Well, he's looked this up. You know what I mean? Just and everything is completely based on absolutely everything I'm putting. As soon as I'm walking up the driveway, is he an old guy that doesn't give a shit? Is he a young guy that doesn't give a shit? You know what I mean? Is he going to care? So then I'll just ask him, and I'll start a conversation about it. I'll converse like, where'd you get it?
I got it from my dad.
Yeah,
Already told you.
yeah. You'll look at the item. Has it been polished and cleaned, or does it look like it's been sitting in storage?
No, it looks like it's been sitting in storage.
Okay, so like I would probably, after all this stuff, who
Yeah.
knows, there could be other conversation. If he's
Okay.
friendly, if he's mean, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to try to get a price for it, but that's going to determine how I'm going to discuss things, right? If he's got a Trump banner in the thing, I'm going to completely talk politics. And if he's got a Trudeau thing in his garage that he loves Trudeau, then I'll have
Are
to
you gonna
maybe,
buy this sign or not, Scotty? I'm just sitting here drinking my
dude,
beer.
this is what is wrong with you then. Like this is what you have to start learning. If you want negotiation,
I'm
there's no
trying to
magic.
learn. I'm trying to learn.
If if you want negotiation, you
Right.
don't just come up there and say, okay, I'll take that for 400. Nope. Okay, see ya.
Oh, I
This is
finally got a price out of you.
right. So these are all going through my head
Yeah.
within a matter of like 30 seconds. You know
Oh,
what I
there's
mean?
no legit stuff. I'm just trying to get like for me, like that's those are all definitely very relevant factors. I'm not ignoring those. I'm just curious when it comes down to brass tacks now.
Right. So if he's
How
got
do
a
we start this off? I want 600. I got the eBay listing on here showing 600. You want to buy it for 400, you said.
well, if
Where
the
how do
eBay
you
first
how
of
do you
all, if
start?
the eBay listing is a asking price of 600,
Right, okay.
like I have to know this item is 600 or I can get 600, or if it's only if the asking is 600, but in my mind I'm like I can only get 4 or 500, I
Well,
have to come way lower, right? So
yeah,
just
okay.
and
This
it's
is
all
all in
going
your
to
head.
it's all
Yeah.
going to depend on the time of the day. If it's first thing in the morning, he ain't going to negotiate as much as if it's like 10 or 11 o'clock in the
Okay,
morning.
so let's say it's first thing in the morning, the first garage sale you hit, and I'm sitting
Okay.
there with my beer, with this bullet riddled Pepsi sign that let's just say it is worth $600. Let's say it's
Yeah.
not bullshit.
Well, first thing I'd say is what's like after all these things that I just talked about, it
Yeah.
could be more, could be less, just depends. But just say what's your best. What's the best you could do on that? I
Okay.
have an antique store. You got to keep in mind I got to pay rent, I got to pay commission, and I mean obviously I'm going to take my time because I got to wash it down because it looks like it's been sitting in a dust storm for a year, so I have to clean that all up. But what's your best you can do for it? And
See,
then I'll
yeah,
feel it out. Well, I can do 500. Well, okay. Well, the best I can do if he's like only going down $100, I said the best I can do is 300. I said, here's my name and number. I'm going to be around town. If you still got it by 10 o'clock, that's probably when I'm going to be leaving here.
yeah.
Here's my name. Give me a call. I'll come back and I'll buy it for 300. But I said, I'll just say for me to resell it out of my antique booth, I'm already at 300 paying too much. But because it's such a nice sign and I think it'll look good there,
Yeah.
maybe I'll make $100 off it at the end of the day. You get your 300, and the commission in the store, like the store's going to make a couple of bucks off it too. So,
And that's a perfectly good answer. Like we can't negotiate now, but here's my information. That might be a really good scenario way of
but
dealing with
but
those
but
eBay
if
prices because there's there isn't much of a chance that he's going to sell it to anyone else for that $600 either. Because everyone else is going to like, this is a garage sale. I'm not paying $600 for a bit bullet riddled sign. Yeah, and the seller might be like, oh, someone's going to give me this, and at the end of the day, he might be disappointed. And if he doesn't have your contact information, he went, oh man, I wish Scotty would come back. But at least, even if you don't get the call back, you have a contact with the person, and who knows what other business it might turn into. He said, well, you know what? That sign I want the $600 for, but I have other stuff you might be interested in. And all it's done is cost you a business card. So as long as you're friendly, you're not going in there saying, you're not an idiot. So you're not going to be like, oh, this is a piece of garbage. Like you said, this is all rusty. How could dare you ask that? You're not going in like that. You're going in
no, no,
friendly, just saying,
but but
explain logic from your side when you
but
come across that stuff.
I honestly feel, and maybe people can comment. Maybe I'm out to lunch here, but for me, maybe I'm over thinking it. But when I go in there, like
Yeah.
all these things matter more than the actual price that he's asking.
So
Like
you're playing the player rather than playing the cards.
and the situation and the
Yeah.
time of day,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, if you're playing poker, has the guy been sitting there for 5 hours or has he
Yeah.
just sat down? Is he drunk or is he sober? Like all
This is
these
great.
things,
Yeah.
all
Yep.
these things make has he been winning or is he losing? You know what I mean?
See, and all these things you're mentioning isn't stuff that necessarily occurs to me, right? So, one thing you mentioned, like, there's a big difference between is it 8 a.m. or is it like 11 a.m., right? Like, that's just one little factor that you mentioned. And hell, yeah, at 11 a.m., maybe he would negotiate a lot more than the 8 a.m.
For
But,
sure. For
but yeah,
sure.
of course, you're taking the chance that the sign won't be there. But if you
Well,
haven't gone to that auction, if you haven't gone to that garage sale, it's like when you're hitting later and that sign's good, but they're asking way too much. Well, maybe it is worth not lowballing, but being very aggressive on the
so
lower end
here's
saying,
something you said that I think differently. You're saying you're taking the chance that it's not there. I look at he's taking a chance. I'm not going to buy it later on
yeah,
because I'm not taking any chances. If I don't get it, I don't care. I'm going to buy a sign somewhere down the road. I'm going
yeah.
to put something else in the place of that sign that is actually making me money. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Don't care is a very strong negotiation tactic for sure.
Yeah. Like, so
I don't need your shit.
I fall in love with the deal. I do
Yeah.
not fall in love with the item. I'm
Yeah.
not saying I haven't in a few auction situations got caught up with the item, but it's more of I was on tilt. I was this guy's been bidding me up all day. Screw him. Like I've gone on tilt. I know that feeling of
Mm.
being on tilt. And it's everything. I don't know,
So,
dude. I honestly think
yeah.
it's. I think everybody does this. I don't know. I don't think I'm unique. I just think after a while, you just kind of learn. Like if it's an estate sale and it's
Yeah.
dad's, he doesn't have the same thing as if, wow, this is something that I've been looking for years. I'm looking to downsize. We're getting a new place, and unfortunately, I have to let it go. You know what I mean? Those are two different scenarios, right? So if it's dusty and dirty and it's been sitting behind a door in the garage that's full of dad's or grandpa's stuff, you're going to get it cheaper than if it's his pride and joy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I learned a few things there from what you were talking about too. It's
But
things like I said,
this
you
is
know,
what I love about yard sale. It's all this little
and this is
like
what I hate.
yeah, you gotta play around with it. You got to and the thing is when you
Yeah.
go to community wides, you get so much opportunity to do this a lot. You know what I mean? If you're going out and you're hitting 5 or 6 yard sales a weekend, it's tougher because you're almost maybe in a sort of way you're almost more desperate because you don't have the opportunities. But when you go to these town wides and you're dealing with 60 yard sales in a day, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're
I can tell you what one of my problems is. I'm scared of insulting someone or upsetting someone, right?
I'm not at all because I'll turn it around. Like if I feel that they're being insulted, like I'll just say, hey, you know what? You might get this at the end of the day. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just I can't pay that. I'm not thinking you're unfair with your prices. I'll turn it completely around. You know what I mean?
Maybe I just been traumatized by being chased down or yelled at when I offered
that,
prices.
that would be traumatizing for
I've had
sure.
both of those things happen. So let's switch it up again.
Okay.
So sometimes like I've had this occur where I ask a price and then they say I don't know, right?
Yeah.
I offered a price and they got insulted by my price. That that's one of the reasons like I'm a little burnt when it comes to
Well,
I'm a
who
little more
cares if
nervous
they're
with negotiation.
insulted? They didn't give you a
Oh,
price. So I'm like, okay, then give me a price. Like if it's
yeah,
worth $100, well, I don't know what it's worth. Well, I'll give you $5. And then they'll say like, wow, like I don't know what insulted would sound like to be honest with you because I don't judge that. Like I don't worry about that, I guess. Like I'm not concerned about the insulting. If they come across as like, well, you don't know what the heck you're talking about type thing, which maybe is in your words what means insulted. I would say, well, then you tell me it's your stuff. Like you tell me what you want. Like I can't be buyer and seller. I say that sometimes,
yeah,
but you tell me what you want. Like what are you asking for? You know what
yeah,
I mean? I don't mind setting the price. A lot of people are against that. And sometimes the problem with having them set the price first is that now you have to figure out a way to come down from that price. But if you set the
yeah.
price first, that now they have to worry about how am I going to get it up to the price that I was thinking. So
See,
if,
that's
if
interesting. That's interesting because like I've read about negotiation. And unfortunately, a lot of the negotiation usually talks about big negotiations, like you're buying a house or something, and this is not that. So often they say, well, you should never. I've heard other resellers say you should never mention price first. That's what I'm being told. That's not what I'm saying. I believe in. And they said the reason is one of three scenarios is going to happen. One is going to be super high, so you're so far away that you're not even going to be bothering. One is that it's going to be in the same range, so you can know we can negotiate it. But they said in the best scenario, they set the price lower than that what you were going to actually offer. So if they mention the price first, it's only going to be in your favor. It's going to save you time. or it's going to be where you want it anyways, or it's going to be so low that you just saved a few bucks by not offering first. That's what I've been told, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting hearing you say that you see it from the other end, that like, like say you had that item and you will pay 10, but you start your offering and you offer uh what is it, 5, right? um I kind of lost myself on my own example there, but you know uh I guess
Well,
that's sorry, save me here. I think the other thing is like, where do you start it from? Like, if they have a price of 20 on the item, uh and you want to pay 10, do you start at 5? Like,
it depends. Am I only going to pay 10?
yeah,
Okay. So I could start at 5 for
you
sure.
can start at 5.
Yeah. I like so I think like I don't know, maybe I'm thinking a little bit weird. I love to get my stuff cheap. Don't get me wrong. And it depends how much I like the item. And again, it's going to depend on completely each scenario is going to be different.
That's why I keep trying to role play it, because I'm trying to, like, I understand those things. Like, you obviously want it for less. The least you can pay, the best it is. Like I'm
Sure.
not denying that. And I'm not saying you're not willing to come up. I'm just curious how you deal with these scenarios, because it's like, like often this scenario is just exactly what I said. They have an item, there's a price tag. Let's just say it's for 20, right? You're willing to pay 10. Often my mistake is I'll start at 10. I don't know why, because it's like, that's how much in my head I'm willing to pay 10. They want 20. I'll just start at 10, and they say no, I walk away instead of the negotiating back and forth, because like I said, I'm not good at this. But for
Well,
you, like your scenario, right? They have the item for 20. It's just a normal garage sale. There's nothing special happening. It's just a normal, there's
yeah,
not a lot of factors involved.
but there's always to me, see, maybe this is where I overthink it. To me there's a lot of factors involved. Like, do they have 10 items I want or do they just have one? You know what I mean?
Right.
So if I have 10 items and I'm not getting this item, like let's say I want to pay 10, it's probably worth 30. I don't want to go higher than 10 and they say it's 15. I might say, well, do you mind if I start a pile? Because I know when I can
Oh,
negotiate
see,
it.
that's actually, that's really good. So
Yeah.
you said they won't come down to your price. So they came down to 15, you want to pay 10, but you'll try to add things to the pile to get it to that 10 that you
To
actually
get it to
want.
that 10. But I haven't said I'll take 10. I've said I didn't say okay to their price. I
See,
just
this
said,
is great.
do
This
you
is great.
mind if I start a pile? Because I
Yeah.
know if we're that close, I'm gonna get it for my 10.
See, and this is stuff I don't, honestly, I don't think about. And and I think a
Not
lot of people don't. And a lot of people do, right? But a
I
lot of us,
kind of thought everybody did.
no, yeah, and that's why I keep trying to emphasize is, no, a lot of us are not good at this.
Okay.
Because I hear it from other people. I hear it from other people who are really good, saying they can't stand any of this stuff because they find it awkward. And I think it's, maybe this is one of your natural skills that you don't even realize is such a powerful skill, because you're so good at it, right? And when I'm trying to emphasize this, like, the reason I keep trying to get you to play these little scenarios with me is because this is what I'm not good at, and I'm trying to understand
Is,
how.
everything's a little bit different, and you just kind of I play it out. As soon as I'm walking up the driveway, I'm already figuring out what the people that are doing the sales are like. You know what I mean? I'll overhear conversations too while I'm sitting there looking for stuff. I'm listening to what they're saying to other people. If someone's lowballing them and they're not getting upset, they're sure. Hey, this is good. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
So if they're sitting back joking around because they got 5 or 6 friends around, or their neighbors come over and visit, they're going to be a little bit. They're just going to be a little bit different. I was going to say they're going to lean towards one way, but I've also experienced it where they're a little bit more stubborn. But you just kind of feel that out. And you know what? At the end of the day, I don't care if my tax didn't work. I'm going to move on to the next yard sale.
yeah. I'm just saying you have to start from somewhere, though. Like, if that scenario with the $20 item, you want to pay 10, you have to come up with, you have to respond. I don't understand why, like, I can't, like, what do you start? Do you start at 8? Do you start at 7? Do you start at 6? Because you're not going to start at 10, right? Like, if you want to buy it for 10, you're not going to start at 10, right? Is that fair?
So say that again, Carl. Are you saying I'm throwing out the first number
No, they
or
have a price on it for $20.
for $20?
You want to pay 10.
Okay.
Where do you start? Because you're not going to start at 10, right?
Yeah. I could start at 10.
Okay, so you say 10, and then I'm
Yeah.
selling around. I say 15.
Just just say, hey, buddy, like I'll do 10 for this. Are you okay with that? And they'll either say yes or no. And
And
they'll say, how about
what
15? Just
happens if
say
they
on it,
respond with 15?
huh? And
What
they'll
happens?
respond with 15 and just say, listen, I have an antique booth. I
Yeah,
said they
okay.
take commission and everything out there. It's not, I can't pay more than 10. I
So
said, if you want it to go at 10, I'll take it right now. If not, then but I might not just do that right away. Like if I see other things there, I'm going to negotiate a couple of items. Just say, look, if I do all these
right,
items, you're doing them a favor.
yeah,
I'm taking all this stuff for you. Can you do a better price? You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
I
then
was
I'll
just
throw it out.
yeah,
If they already have their items priced, that's a whole different situation than not priced, because I don't have to ask them the number now. I can just add it all up. Hey, you've got these items here, comes out to $50. Could you do 30?
right. Okay,
You know what? I'll do 30 for all these, but if you hold out a $20 bill, most times at a yard sale, they're not going to turn that $20 bill away. Like
no,
20 bill at a yard sale, when you're selling things for $1 and $5 all day, a
gold,
$20 bill looks like gold. You know what I mean? So if you
flash
just say
cash.
like, so if you got a 10 and a 20, just say, I'll do 30 for this, and you hand out the money, they're probably going to take it.
So you actually had the money in your hand,
I
like
could have for sure. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So
Not,
let's
not, not every time.
no,
Right. But just say, would you take 30? You know what I mean? So,
and have it ready.
and
You
just
don't
have it
pull out
ready.
your wallet already, and like usually what I do is I negotiate the price, then I pull out my wallet and pay them.
Yeah.
But you think there's some negotiation tactics to actually having some of the money in your hand?
But it doesn't necessarily mean I'll do that all the time either,
No,
right?
yeah,
Like
I'm never
it's just,
saying every time. I'm just
yeah,
saying there are scenarios where that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
don't look overly interested in it. But I mean, I use that spiel a lot about the antique booth because everybody knows
Yeah.
you got to pay rent. Everybody knows that there's a commission. I do this as a hobby on my Saturdays. It's not to get rich or anything. I just make a few bucks and I have fun, and I just come out on Saturdays. You know what I
So
mean?
so when you said not looking too interested, so you don't bring Stephanie and she goes, "Oh wow, I really want this. This looks oh Scotty, this is the most amazing thing.
I
We
yell at her
wow."
very violently. Now you go sit in the truck and be a good girl.
Don't let her listen to this. I don't want to
No, she already knows. She's fine. She enjoys coming out. Like for the most part, we
Yeah.
we really gel well together.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, but she
I'm
does.
just teasing because we've all had that
As,
scenario when you're with your partner and
yeah,
they go
as
into the
that's
into the
happened a
scenario.
thousand times. Trust me,
I've had
especially
that.
when we do
Yeah.
private pics together.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is so beautiful. Your house is amazing, and it's just like cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. They just up the prices. You know what I
In
mean?
your head, you just see the
Yeah,
values going up.
just stop. But but
Yeah. I
for the
I
most,
prefer being a lone wolf too, just it just makes things a little easier, I think, sometimes.
yeah, like I enjoy it when she comes out.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but sometimes like I'll ask her to come out. Just say, hey, like I'm
Oh,
going.
yeah, no, if
Yeah,
Amy wants to come along, she's more than welcome to. She has
yeah.
no interest, but
So stuff just depends on what she's got going on,
Ye
but I don't have a problem. The only thing is that does happen sometimes, and I keep correcting her on that. She's getting way better because she used to
Mm.
do it all the time. And the other thing is, like don't waste time. I'm going to sound like a jerk again,
Oh,
but
no.
she's going to go and she's going to talk to the kids for 3 hours, and I'm like, or she'll talk to the parents, like just the people in general, and it's like, okay, we got to get going here. Like we're
The
not,
golden hour is, like,
yeah.
ticking away. Yeah, yeah, I'd be like, we need to go, we need" eventually, I get rude.
Before they realize we
That's
just
my
robbed the
problem.
blind, we got to run.
We gotta go. I just saw Adam go down the street and his truck
Yeah,
is
no,
full.
well, yeah. What I was saying was more sarcastic, but what you're saying is realistic. Adam and Ben and everybody else just blew right by us, and now we got to catch up because there's a lot of competition out there,
Oh, there is.
and you do your best to be competitive, but you're gonna definitely miss stuff. Like people
Here's
are gonna, and you know what? And
yeah,
that's here's another scenario.
right.
I went to a place and the guy had Snap on. I knew, so I was in one town. I knew Adam was there because he came a little bit later and he was clearing up in that town. So I went to a yard sale on the way home that was out in the country, and this guy had these Snap on tools. and I would be willing to pay 30, but I wasn't going to pay his asking. I think he wanted 60 or 70 bucks for the Snap-on power drills. And so I would have offered him 30. And I called Adam and I said, "Hey, look, there's a yard sale on the way home. This guy ain't getting much activity." I said, "I just put in an offer." I said, "If he's not selling his stuff. If you come by and his tools are still there, he's
Yeah.
probably going to take it." And Adam got it for the price that I told him. Like,
Oh, I'm sure
yeah, because he came
yeah.
by and he offered the same price, right?
That's
So
funny.
so now the guy's like, "Well, if I don't, I already lost one opportunity. If I don't sell it now," this is what he's thinking in his head.
Wow,
And it's
this is a little sneaky negotiation technique. I don't think I've heard anyone ever talk about before. What is this? It's like good cop, bad cop, except for
yeah, that's right. I just took him down,
negotiation.
right? Now he's all the guy's, but it's all psychology, buddy. It's all
It
like,
is.
holy Christ,
Yeah.
if I don't sell it now, like, you know what I mean? So maybe I'll
Mm.
have to start setting Steph in there and lowball the people, and I'll come up a little bit higher. And
Yeah, she'd love that, I'm sure. You go in and you put in the insulting ones they're gonna get angry at you for.
yeah,
Then I'll come and be Mr. Nice Guy.
yeah, and then it's like, they're like, "Oh my god, like we're not going to sell this thing at all. We're way out of whack, on the prices." But and some of the lines I'll use is like, I'm in yard sale mode today. You know what I mean? So like, I brought money out for yard sales, so
Oh,
that's
that's a good
kind of,
one too.
yeah, those
Yeah.
are the prices I'm looking at paying.
Yeah.
Not that you're offbeat, but we are doing yard sale stuff, right? So people understand that tone, but they might not appreciate it, but they're not going to argue it.
I really like that sentence. I'm in
Yeah.
yard sale mode today because I have, even without the eBay prices, I have seen crazy prices. Not like, honestly, it doesn't happen that often, but it definitely does. And you're like, wow, you're expecting way too much for a yard sale. Sometimes it's like you're not gonna. I've also gone where someone was asking, they didn't have any prices, and I asked them on these like kind of they're McDonald's toys, but they're like the chicken McNuggets that I knew had a bit of value. And she offered me a price, and I said, "Okay, how about $5?" She said, "Oh no, I'll sell them on Etsy. I sell on Etsy, and I'll just sell them on Etsy." And it's like, why did you waste my effing time?
Yeah.
But
You know,
that scenario, it is rare. Like, because what I love is the opposite scenario when there's like you go to buy something and they're like, "Oh yeah, I only want 50 cents," and you're like, "Oh, you only want 50 cents?" You start grabbing everything you can because
yeah,
that like they're just trying to get rid of stuff. Like that is also rare, but it is.
we're running long in the tooth here again,
Yep.
Carl. I wanted to kind of get to some comments, especially with Randy here. He's got a couple comments. Do you
Yep.
mind if we get into those?
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So last week we did the a yard sale part one, and we had a comment from Randy, Nova Scotia Celt 5218 on YouTube. And Carl, do you want to read his comment?
Sure. So Randy says, "Hi, Scott and Carl. I have the same philosophy on sellers asking high prices at a yard sale. If it's not even close to what I want to pay, I move on. Lots of times I intended to say, you may sell one of these at your price, but you will be taking the rest back into your house. I will buy them all at my offer, and you will have more money at the end of the day, and then all the stuff will be out of your hair," unquote. But that may be taken in a negative way, and I've got other places to go. I agree with you on paying up when you're invited into the house. I feel that in the yard, they are trying to sell to you, but in the house, you're trying to buy from them and are at a disadvantage. Plus, like you say, the happier you are, the more likely you will get an invite back or a referral. Thanks again, Randy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with Randy. I might word it a little bit differently with the I am tempted to say. So he's not really saying it. He's okay. So he's tempted to say you may sell one of those prices, you'll be taking the rest back into your house.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
when
so I
the
wouldn't
price
say
is
it
too
like
high.
that, but he's saying he's tempted to say that, and a lot of times I'm tempted to say that too, right? And I think we do say it on the show, we know these people aren't selling it at that prices for sure.
Yeah, and he's worried
Um,
about it being taken in an insulting way, which I completely understand. Like it's like, okay, well, if I have the stuff out and it's high price and someone said that to me, I might be like, well, that's nice for you, buddy. Like
yeah,
I could see that happening.
but that's as tempted to say, which
Yeah,
I
not what
agree
he's saying.
because
Yeah.
I think I'm tempted to say that too for sure. Um, but he will put an offer and say, you know, at least you'll get the stuff out of your hair. You don't have to worry about taking it back into your house. That's totally something I would say for sure. And then he agrees on paying up when invited to the house. I like the little saying that he says here at the end that I feel that in a yard sale you're trying to sell, but when you're invited into the house, you're trying to buy,
Yeah.
which is 100% true. They're trying to sell at the yard sale, and you're trying to buy it in the house. That's really good. I like that. Because that's exactly it. And the happier with the referral, yeah. If they're happy and I'm in a good mood and nice to them, the
Yeah.
referrals are huge, right? So,
Yeah.
um, the only thing I'm not even really adding to this, but the only thing that I always make sure there's meat on the bone. Like you got to make sure you're not overpaying for your items,
Mhm.
and so I don't feel that I need to worry about insulting the person if they're out there. They're game. They're fair game. I'm trying to sell this stuff,
Yeah.
so and I'm trying to buy it or whatever. Um, they're it's part of the game. It's part of the system. It's part of how it goes. I'm not worried about insulting them because I don't think I do. I don't think I might insult the price a little bit, but I cover it by explaining where I am.
Well,
And,
yeah, try to keep it to the object rather than personal. Like,
yeah, so but I totally agree with Randy here, especially that last sentence. I like that. The but yeah, so I just think for me, it's all about what I buy the item for, you know.
mhm.
And if I can bulk buy, which is usually the case, I'm usually buying three, four, or many more items.
Yeah.
Uh, it's all about trying to get one or two items to pay for everything, and then everything is gravy. You know, they might not see it that way, but
No.
you're trying to justify it in your brain that way.
Also, when things are in bulk, sometimes it's harder for people to figure out um how much you're actually paying. Like, it's not often people are going to sit there and like look at each individual item, come up with a price for each one, and then give you a price based on that. Often people just say, okay, $50 for everything. And there could be 10 things there for $5. Where if you try to buy each one individually, they'd want $10 for each one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, for example, I just bought a big magazine lot. I think I ended up paying like 30 cents a magazine. But if I tried to individually buy them, they wouldn't probably go below $1 a magazine. That scenario can definitely happens in those bulk buys as well. As long as you're not making the mistake the other direction when you're buying the bulk, you're not like paying way too much. And I'm pretty sure I did that once where I think I ended up paying more for bulk than I would have individually because I didn't do the math. But hopefully that doesn't occur too much.
oh jeez.
So I think that's a pretty good part too. I hope some people got some more advice out of that. So Scott, what are we going to talk about next week?
What are we going to talk about next week? Well, you know what, Carl? I think I don't know if people are going to like this or not. Let us know in the chats. But I think let's talk about operating an antique booth from start to finish. You've done it. You've dabbled into it,
Well, I can
and
do the
I've been
finish
doing it.
part.
I've been doing it for about 8 years.
Yeah.
Actually, this June is going to be 9 years, so I'm going to start saying 9 years now.
Wow.
But
Nice.
so in I got a good grasp of it. I've
Mhm.
operated a couple different locations.
Mhm.
The location I'm at now, I presently operate 3 booths, and a lot of people are curious about that. And I think it almost is an absolute essential part of reselling, and it streamlines so well with eBay and selling online. Like I think the two just complement each other. So I'd really like to talk about that if that's okay.
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
And hopefully people tune in, listen, and if you have any comments or anything, leave a comment, and we'll read it out next week,
Awesome. Well, thank you for
or them out,
or
depending on
them.
how many there are. We'll
Yeah.
read it out or them out.
Well, thank you everyone for listening, and have a great week, and talk to you all later.
And we'll see you
Yeah.
next Friday, 10 a.m.
10
in the
a.m.
morning. We upload the podcast as both Spotify, and we do it on YouTube as well. So you can follow us and leave chats either place.
Awesome. Bye,
All
everyone.
right. All right. Have a good one.